And hi, this is The Slippery Slope. I'm Jay Fallon, and I've got with me Olivene Yasso. You've all met her before, I believe. So hello, Olivene, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic.
Recovering from the flu.
Recovering from the flu. I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, get in there.
Get in there, yeah. Hey, I want to bring Olivene in on the conversation this week because we've seen so many issues in Australian politics, and especially talking about Indigenous politicians, which I'll say straight up, I think it's great having Indigenous politicians involved in the direction of our nation. However, regardless of your nationality, regardless of your heritage and where you go, you've still got to have the proper the proper grounding, I believe. And this week we've seen what happens when you've got someone like a Greens senator, namely Ms. Lydia Thorpe, who she's a Green senator, and she's been very outspoken this week in what she thinks, giving her real, I suppose, what she really believes with the Australian political system, how she sees Australia as it is. And Ollie, have you had a chance to look at Lydia and see what are your thoughts on her? I mean, she's called the Australian system, saying that she's part of the colonizing. She's part of this colonizing, and she said that she's involved in politics because she wanted to infiltrate the political system and change it from the inside out. And look, I'm all for people going into politics because they want to help direct the nation in a good way. However, some of her points of view seem a little skewed. She claims to speak for the Indigenous people. I know I already said on here that on one of my podcasts that she doesn't speak for me. Okay, but I don't speak for all Indigenous people either. So I wanted to get some other points of view. Obviously, you've worked with in Indigenous social working areas and that before. Probably had a lot more to do with it than I have. So anyhow, what's your thoughts?
I think like you sort of hit a point there. There's always seems to be this one size fits all, and where it's supposed to be diversity, but they don't. You get these speakers or these political or high profile people that profess to talk from to represent Aboriginal and Torres Strait people, and over history, there's a lot of them that actually don't, or they may have some following, but they don't speak for everyone. And I think if you're genuine in your work within community, you'd be very clear about who you speak from. So quite often when we speak in if I'm in a community, one, you say who you are, your background, blah, blah, blah. And, you're very clear about, I'm speaking from this point of view, or if you are, when you're involved in different community groups, you might go, oh, when I was talking with this community group, this is what they wanted. So you're very clear on who you talk on behalf of who you're talking about. I don't know a lot about her, so only because of your podcast that I sort of went and had a bit of a look. But I think it's very disingenuous as well to say, like a lot of our mob do invoke their sovereign rights, which I talked about last time. Mm-hmm. And so invoking your sovereign rights and denying the colonizer state means you don't participate in the political, in the governance. Yeah. You basically just don't have anything to do with any of it. You can still coexist. So I think she just wants to me, it feels like she's being disingenuous and wants the cake. Wants her cake and eat it. Yeah, I never get that term. Yeah. Anyway, but she wants best of both worlds. So you're either part of the colonizer state, basically, or you're not. And if you are, then you accept it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where there's a lot of our mob that don't, and they have invoked their sovereign rights, which they have every right to, because we, like I said before, we're not constitutionally recognised. So they have that right to do that, and they operate and they intertwine with society and government on their governance terms, and it's being accepted in society and in government. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you can't have both ways. So there's a few things, I'm sick of people, especially in politics, saying that they're speaking for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. They don't, like, has she been to Queensland? She should be saying, I'm speaking for Victoria.
Yeah.
And then the specific community, or I'm speaking for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who believe the Green lies.
And that was part of the, look, people know, if you listen to the podcast, one of the main issues I have with the Greens, okay, is first and foremost, top of the agenda, they've got the trans issues, and which it blows my mind how they think that trans issues can be such an important an important talking piece, for one, when it's such a small margin majority of society, such a tiny majority, and there's so many other issues with the trans and transgender issues, and medically, whether you accept it as a mental health issue, whether it's going to be really a physical issue. Do we really need it at the top of the list for our political party when there's so many other issues they could be addressing?
It's well, firstly, if you're professing to speak on behalf of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and have that proper cultural lens, you would understand that we separate a lot of our ways of doing into men's business and women's business. So we believe that there are two sexes.
Yeah.
We don't believe that there's binary and that men could, women could not go to men's business and men could not go to women's business just because they decided that they are now women or men.
Yeah.
So again, like, if you're gonna, put all your eggs in the green basket, then don't say that you are talking on behalf of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, or that you are holding a leadership role and being our spokesperson, because that is disingenuous and it's not true.
Yeah.
The other thing is, being in politics, you are it's a big responsibility. And her statements to me, it's like, Jacinta Price, love or hate her, she's got a point. She's taking it. It's a game.
Yeah.
Yet look at what's happening in society, and she's up there saying, "Oh, I'm just I'm this Trojan horse. I'm going to come in and infiltrate." You know what? Go on with you and your little Hunger Games, whatever the hell you want to play. But our community doesn't need players and actors. We need people who are serious, who actually come out into community, not the white, green, that live in the inner city communities that celebrate her because she's Black, and they're going to put someone into thing to virtue signal and say, look what we're doing for the Black fella. No. You come out and you talk to community and find out if we actually do want to pay more for our electricity. Ask us if we don't want fossil fuel, because most of us are poor. We can't afford the electricity. So bring on fossil fuel any day.
Well,
I mean, that's not taken away from mining, because there's other issues around mining.
Yeah.
But we're not against mining. It's just some of the things that they do within mining.
Yeah, exactly. It's some of the practices, and let's be realistic. I mean, I think we've said before, you and I are cousins. A lot of our family members, a lot of them work in the mines. A lot of them. And let's face it, it's more about some of the practices. All right, there are some practices with mining and some of the things that have happened up in NT where they've ruined some of the some artifacts and things like this, but also just the practices that ruin the environment. I'm dead against. However, I do not see any logical way where we can just drop fossil fuels and then turn to renewables, and especially renewables don't make a lot of sense either. Being
no,
able
well,
to.
renewables can only generate 20% of the energy that fossil fuels can do.
Yeah.
So where are you going to get the other 80% from? Then, do you know how much fossil fuels it takes to make solar panels? How much fossil fuels it takes to make the wind
turbines? Yeah. But no one talks about that, Ollie.
No.
No one talks about that.
You also need the lithium batteries, whatever they're called. Is it lithium, whatever it is,
lithium.
batteries, to store the energy. And so solar panels, I think they have a 7-year life.
Yeah, anywhere between 5 to 20 at the most.
Yeah.
So it goes from 5.
They all have short lifespans.
Yeah.
They use that much fossil fuel in cement and other elements to make the product, and then they don't last. So it's cheaper it's actually more, if you want to go CO2 emissions crap, then it's actually better to use fossil fuels.
Yeah.
The only reason that they're bringing this in is to control.
Yeah.
Because the more dependency we have, oh no, we've got no electricity. Please, Mr. Government, please, Gubba, give me the electricity. I'll do anything for it.
Yeah.
They've been doing it. They've been putting us. That's what we're like. I see a lot of the global community saying, oh, Australia is the testing state. No, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people were the testing state.
Yeah.
Indigenous people all over the world were the testing state. And hence why, we're not going to, I like, it's that healthy distrust that I keep saying. We have a very healthy distrust of government.
Yeah.
Hey, and rightly so.
And that kind of segues into the other thing I want to discuss with you, because you brought up last time we spoke, and it's about, I'm not sure if people, especially people overseas, sorry, I keep blocking my microphone. I have this big fancy microphone for nothing. People overseas realize that some of the things that are coming in now, how they're already brought in and, like you said, trialed with Indigenous communities within Australia. Like we had those cards up in NT, Northern Territory, where, it's controlling what people can buy, monitoring what they buy and how they use their money, these kinds of things. And so it seemed very much like a trial run on how much you can control this small people group, which it seemed like, okay, this is a people group that people generally don't care a lot about. Okay, it's just they're there. That's all. We'll put them over the side, and let's try these different things, these social programs on them. That's what I thought you were trying to say last time, which I agreed with. That was what you were saying. Yeah,
and it's funny too, because when we talk outside of this, I say I get really upset because I just don't understand why people can't see it and why people aren't speaking up, and why, because right now it's not impacting them.
No.
And so when it was impacting us and not the rest of society, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So right now we've got a lot of people where they feel, well, one, they don't want to know too much because it's too fearful and too scary. So the less they know, the less it impacts them, or the less they can see that it has impact on them. Yeah. So then that creates that complacency to go, well, it's not my problem, or it doesn't affect me. I don't care. Yeah. It's like, well, you should, because it's actually affecting not only you, but it's the legacy you leave for your children and your grandchildren. Yeah. It's the, for me, it's not about me. It's about, I think about like my grandchild. I think about, especially with the food pricing going up and the fuel price going up and the depression, the talks of depression, which I believe is going to come in, kids starving and families not being able to feed their children and that sort of stuff. That makes me so sad. And that's what fires me to keep talking. Yeah. And so when that happened to us, people either turned a blind eye, or it doesn't impact me, so I'm going to go about my busy life. and do what I need to do and just focus on me. But until you start looking at humanity as a whole and how every decision that's being made, the negative and impacts it has, if it doesn't, especially if you're a Christian, if it doesn't create compassion to the point of, like I've cried for people and for what's coming on this earth, but you got to get back up and you go, no, Lord, help. I know you got everything under control, and keep putting one foot in front of the other. But I just don't get why people aren't. But I can also see, sorry, I suppose what I'm getting at is I can see the parallels of when it was happening to our people, how the rest of society, how they reacted.
Yeah. And this is the same thing that's happened. So, COVID came in and all of a sudden it started to affect more people. You saw, okay, so government really is trying to bring in this control. And I thought, from an Australian point of view, I felt like, okay, they've learned how to control Indigenous people in Australia. This is how we put tight reins on them. We'll take some of those concepts and this is how we're going to do it with the rest of the population. Forcing mandates, we're going to, restrict them, and hey, you can't work. You're going to monitor them more. Like you said, people, even then you have certain groups, there's certain splinterings because some people thought, well, it doesn't affect me, or no, I'll just go along with it because it means I can keep working, I can keep earning money. Others just dropped the ball and said, well, stuff it, I'm walking away, and I'm going to have the great resignation kind of come out of that. And now we're still seeing probably the bigger picture starting to come into view, I think. This is just my thoughts at the moment with what you would have heard of it, the Great Reset. So it seems like, okay, we've had these testings in these smaller groups, and then COVID brought it into a bit of a, each nation has their testing, how can I control? And now the Great Reset, Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, they're talking about, okay, so we're going to be able to monitor, we're going to be able to surveil the whole world. And we're like, I can't remember that fellow's name. His last name is Noah, Yuval Harari, Noah, something like that. Noah Harari. He talked about surveillance under the skin, and, COVID-19 being used to bring in surveillance techniques. And that's what it seems like. It seems like, all the stuff we didn't care about when it happened to smaller people groups. But now we can see it's all moving across, and okay, we've got the whole world. They're learning, they have learned how to bring in monitoring and control for a whole world. And when you think about it, it's ingenious. It's diabolical. It's completely evil, but it's ingenious at the same time.
It's nothing new under the sun, though. No. They learned it from Hitler. They learned it from Roman Empire, all the different empires that have come before. They've learned it all. Nothing's new under the sun. No. You just have to look at history. The only thing I've noticed, especially, so they're talking about the fourth quarter where they're going to bring in the digital currency, which is next year, I believe, early next year. And that is like, it's like just picking up, what they call it when it just, when it rolls and it just keeps building and building and going faster and faster and faster. Yeah, you can see that happening so quickly. Like every day I'm sort of just quickly checking to see what restrictions they put on banking or whatever, in that sort of world. I did notice that the housing prices have gone down. To buy. There's more to buy at the moment than rent. Anyway, and they're down. But what was I saying? So you can see it's just going so
snowballing
quickly.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and people have been warning. Like it's been a journey for me for probably about 3-4 years, and it's probably when COVID came in, there was like, oh, okay, I need to start getting myself organized, get just prepared for what's about to happen, blah, blah, blah. But now it's just amping up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say to me, oh, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. What's their end game? Well, you got to understand they have no compassion for humanity. They are just greedy, evil beings. They're controlled by their father, Satan, who hates humanity.
Yeah.
So when you get that aspect of who they are, you can it's really easy to understand, because that's the whole. And humans are humans. For years, have tried to enslave people.
Yeah.
There's
For years.
always been. Yeah.
There's always been one group that tries to enslave another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
And I think one of the things you talked about in your podcast too is around, the LGBTQ, how they're all infighting, and with the everyone's going against the trans, because it eliminates women and the feminists. So there's all of this, and even an out like if you bring in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, well, hold on, these have just taken over we just wanted equality, we wanted to be respected and heard, and then you've just basically railroaded our movement, and then put themselves above, again. So there's all this infighting, but it's designed to do that. They create all these little cultural groups that fight against each other. You even look in politics, you got all your different little groups, and everyone fights and argues, and it just creates, you can't come together. I remember like growing up, and a lot of my work is around doing this, is going, okay, let's look at where our shared visioning, our collective values, our shared visioning, our shared aspirations, or where the things that we share that are important to us. Let's focus on that and build on that.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that now.
No, you can't work together. You can't. Everything's got to be separate.
Everything we're saying today, everything we're talking about on this, there's going to be LGBTQ or some other freaking cultural group saying, whatever, we're being discriminatory, or we're being hateful speech. It's like, have you ever actually had hateful speech against you? I have. It's not very nice, but I never carried on. You just get on with life. It hurts. It's awful. It does impact you over time, but you just get thicker skin,
You learn
and it's not that I'm not saying that it's not right, but
you shouldn't put up with it. But
some of the stuff they're saying is hateful speech. It's
hateful speech anyway.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Hey, we've only just got under 2 minutes left before we get booted out, apparently. Listen, next time we're here, I want to be able to discuss a few more things. Just talking about what you think and where you see things going with COVID, and talking about some food shortages and what we can do to possibly start growing our own stuff at home, and how you're tackling all that with upcoming food shortages and that, and also what you're doing with.
To start now.
People start now. Time. Yeah. And also what you're doing, we'll discuss next time with starting your own like home remedies and that kind of thing. If you want to talk about that and what you're doing there and other things to do. So mate, I've got just growing. We've got a minute left. Anything else you want to say to end it all?
No, just if people need to start prepping, really. It's coming so quickly. Like, it could be any day that you go to the store. Like, $15 for lettuce. I got the biggest amount of lettuce growing in my garden. I'm good. I could sell them for $15 each. And I only put them in a couple of weeks ago. A couple of months ago. No, about a month ago.
Hey, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks very much for joining us. Remember to hold faith, hold your trust in God.
Yeah.
Prepare.
That's the ultimate.
Prepare. By all means, prepare. Put your trust in God.
Too, when you get scared, just read your Bible. Seriously.
Read your Bible.
Because we all get scared.
Yeah. Read your
Bible. I just go and read my Bible and go, and remember, that's right, you got everything under control, God.
That's the best words of wisdom yet. Hey, we're going to get cut off. Thanks very much for joining me, Ollie. Bless you, mate.
No worries. See ya.
Bye.